If you're aware of the Kenyan struggle for independence, then you may be familiar with 𝗤𝗛𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗡, the chief medicine man, diviner, and prophet who used his powers to lead the Nandi tribe against the British colonial rule from 1896 until his death in 1905. What most of you do not know, however, is that he came from a clan that was mainly known to produce the community's prophets and chief diviners known as 𝗤𝗛𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗡. The clan's name is the Talai clan, and the 𝗤𝗛𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗡 was supposed to rule and guide the entire community in religious and social affairs. 𝗤𝗛𝗣𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗡 was one of these 𝗤𝗛𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗡s, and today we are going to look at the mystical and interesting origin of the clan. It's between 1780 and 1790, and the Maasai tribe led by 𝗤𝗛𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗡 at the time have just conquered present-day Uasin Gishu and have taken it from the Nandi tribe. Oh, and by the way, the Maasai 𝗤𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗡 is the equivalent of the Nandi 𝗤𝗛𝗣𝗢𝗡, and a 𝗤𝗣𝗢𝗡's roles include divination and prophecy, shamanistic healing, and ensuring that Maasai warriors only go to war when their victory has been guaranteed by God. Now, after securing the entirety of Uasin Gishu, the Maasai community lived in peace for a few years, and the 𝗤𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗡's wife by the name 𝗤𝗛𝗣𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗡 even became pregnant. Please remember her name, because she's arguably the most important person in this history. Also, throughout the video, I'll be referring to her as 𝗤𝗣𝗣. I think that will be easier to remember. Anyway, back to the story. Shortly after 𝗤𝗣𝗣𝗣 becoming pregnant, a serious disagreement broke out between the two main Maasai clans occupying Uasin Gishu. And after word of this divide in the tribe's leadership reached the Nandi tribe, Nandi warriors decided this was the perfect time to attack. After all, they knew from experience that defeating a prepared Maasai warriors team was unlikely. But maybe if they ambushed the tribe unaware at a time when they were a little divided, then the odds would be in their favor. Well, they thought right. When Nandi warriors launched a surprise attack a few days later, the unprepared Maasai warriors tried pushing them back. But the organized Nandi warriors overpowered them, and the Maasai had no choice but to play defense. Even worse, a small group of Nandi warriors had gone around the battleground and were making way to the Maasai settlement to destroy their huts and steal their cattle. So when the pregnant 𝗤𝗣𝗣𝗢 was in the hut saw the Nandi approaching from a distance, she decided to take a few necessities she could carry with her hands and escaped into the wilderness. According to legend, the Maasai warriors were able to hold off the Nandi warriors until the latter decided to retreat in the wee hours of the morning. Now back to 𝗤𝗣𝗣𝗢. After escaping the battleground and trekking in darkness the whole night, the heavily pregnant 𝗤𝗣𝗣𝗢 finally found refuge in a cave in present-day 𝗤𝗟𝗪𝗪 in Nandi territory. And legend has it that a pride of lion mysteriously came to her aid and even provided her with meat until she gave birth to two healthy boys. The twins were named 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 regard to the lions coming to 𝗣𝗪𝗧𝗧 in the darkest hour, most elders credit it to his husband's abilities, saying that he must have performed a ritual that commanded nature to take care of his wife and unborn children wherever they went. A few months after the birth of the twins, Nandi warriors on a hunting expedition spotted 𝗣𝗪𝗧𝗧 sitting on the edge of the cave. Confused by what a lady was doing in that part of the wilderness at that time of the day, they decided to approach and confirm she wasn't in distress, or worse, that she wasn't a spy from a neighboring tribe. However, after taking a few steps toward the cave, a whole pride of lions came out of the nearby bushes, took charging stances, and even slowly started approaching the bewildered Nandi warriors. Usually, they would have simply strategically organized themselves to take on the lions, but on this day, they were all confused more than anything else. How come the lions were charging at them, yet avoiding the woman at the cave's entrance? Most importantly, the lady also seemed to be only concerned by the presence of the warriors and totally ignored the pride of lions a few meters in front of her. Anyway, after internalizing everything that was happening around them, the warriors group leader instructed everyone to retreat so they could return to their elders and report everything they had encountered. You have to remember, they lived at a time when supernatural occurrences were a normal thing, so the last thing they wanted was to interfere with some cosmic plan or destiny enacted by God. After explaining the situation to the council of elders back in the village, they were all just as surprised as the warriors, and some of them even declared that the warriors had simply exaggerated the account of events in order to mask the fact they were threatened by a mere pride of lions. Either way, the following day, they decided to call a formal gathering and made way to the cave. They also brought with them all their religious tools, thinking that if the lions really were protecting a human, then they would have to consult with their god and learn how they were supposed to handle the situation. Unfortunately, I couldn't uncover the exact process they used at the scene, but they did manage to retrieve 𝗣𝗪𝗧𝗧 and her two sons, after which they brought them back to the community. Back there, 𝗣𝗪𝗣𝗡 explained everything that had transpired, and after learning that she was married to the Maasai Oloiboni, they began to understand why the lions had taken the initiative to give them protection. Also, if you're wondering why did they treat her so nicely even though she was married to one of their worst enemies at the time, then the answer is simple, and I even shared an image on Twitter and Instagram explaining the rules of war in traditional Kenyan communities. According to the rule, it was forbidden to attack women, children, the sick, the old, and the disabled. But it's not all for the reasons you may think. For children, the sick, the old, and the disabled, it was because they were vulnerable individuals who couldn't really protect themselves, so no warrior was allowed to attack any of them. For women, however, it's because traditional Kenyan communities believe that women are members of every tribe, thanks to their ability to get married and integrate with any community. Therefore, harming or taking the life of a lady during battles and raids was the same as harming a lady from your own tribe, and was believed to invite the wrath of God upon the community responsible. You even have multiple instances where warriors that hurt a lady get struck down by warriors of their own community. Oh, and by the way, I post images with interesting traditions like this daily on social media, so make sure you follow me there as well. The username is @Narrates across all social platforms. Anyway, let's get back to the main story. After explaining herself and then undergoing the required rituals in order to make her part of the Nandi community, 𝗣𝗪𝗣𝗡 was given a piece of land and a few cattle she could use to derive a livelihood, therefore making her family the first of the Talai clan. For those wondering why she didn't go back to her husband, well, she couldn't because the Maasai community had split due to the disagreements and vacated 𝗤𝗪𝗧. The fraction led by her husband was believed to have moved all the way to present-day Laikipia County, which is hundreds of kilometers away. Also, since the Nandi Council of Elders understood that the power of the Maasai Oloiboni was hereditary, they started watching the two boys closely to see which one will be the first one to manifest. And as I hinted earlier in the video, it was the first boy, 𝗣𝗪𝗣𝗣𝗅, who exhibited a stronger link to his father's gift, so the community started grooming him for leadership from a young age among the Nandi. He also had to join the warriors' age set because every leader in the Nandi community, whether a political, social or religious leader, had to be someone who was serving or had served as a warrior. With that in mind, after coming of age and getting initiated as a warrior, 𝗣𝗪𝗣𝗅 became the first 𝗣𝗪𝗇 and supreme chief of the Nandi people of Kenya. That said, note that the Nandi had a dual administrative system. The 𝗣𝗪𝗇 mainly served as a chief spiritual leader and also had the complete authority to enforce decisions regarding security, such as those involving waging of war, as well as coming up with strategies that will protect the community from neighboring tribes that decided to wage war on the Nandi. There was also a different council of elders known as 𝗖𝗪𝗣𝗥. This was in place to manage and handle the day-to-day affairs of the people, and things such as disputes, celebration ceremonies, and essential dates in the community were handled by the 𝗖𝗪𝗣𝗥. Now, let's look at the 5 main religious functions of the 𝗣𝗪𝗇 of the Nandi. He acted as a mediator between the people and Asis, the Nandi supreme god. Whenever the community was engaging in something that was angering God, he would be the one to receive the warning from God so he could pass it on to the rest of the community. Also, if an unnatural calamity befell the community, it was up to him to go before God and learn the reason. And if the calamity was a punishment for something someone or some people had done, he would also be advised by God on what needed to be done in order to lift the curse. In short, whenever a dilemma arose in the community, it was his role to handle it by going before God. Number 2, he presided over the offering of sacrifices to God on behalf of the community. Just like in every other African community, sacrifices to God were offered immediately before or after important occasions in the community. These occasions included birth, raids, planting or harvesting, battles, circumcisions, and even warrior initiations. In the Nandi community, it was the 𝗣𝗪𝗇's responsibility to offer these sacrifices and libations on behalf of the entire community. Number 3, he advised and blessed warriors before they left for war. Nandi warriors wouldn't go to war before consulting with the 𝗣𝗪𝗇 to make sure the odds were in their favor. And whenever the religious leader saw in a vision or premonition that the raid would only end in calamity, then he usually had 2 choices. Either command the warriors to halt and postpone their planned raid, or go before God and try negotiating with him to see if he will change his mind and the outcomes. To see an example of what usually happened when warriors disrespected the orders of the 𝗣𝗪𝗇, check out my video on the Battle of Mogori. I will leave a link to it in the description below. Number 4, blessing people before they undertook any special activities. Back in the day, people were known to walk hundreds of miles for trading purposes or even hunting expeditions. and before leaving or taking such a special activity, Nandi villagers were recommended to seek blessings from the 𝗪𝗪𝗧 so nothing evil befalls them along the way. Number 5. He foretold things that were going to take place in the future. This sounds straightforward, doesn't it? One of the areas an 𝗪𝗪𝗧's ability to see the future came in handy was when neighboring communities were planning on raiding the Nandi. The 𝗪𝗪𝗧 would usually receive a warning in the form of a vision, which would in turn give the community sufficient time to organize and prepare for the imminent attack. I have another interesting piece of history as a bonus for you. You remember 𝗦𝗪𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥𝗧, right? The freedom fighter we talked about at the beginning of the video. After his birth, a rumor had made way around the community stating that he wasn't really the son of 𝗤𝗪𝗣𝗣𝗡𝗏. As you can see from the diagram, 𝗤𝗤𝗪𝗣𝗡𝗏 was the 𝗪𝗪𝗧 of the Nandi before 𝗦𝗪𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗧 took the mantle from him. Also, 𝗤𝗤𝗪𝗣𝗡𝗏 lost his life in 1890, which in itself is an intriguing story for another day. Anyway, after the rumor that 𝗪𝗣𝗡 had been born out of wedlock made way around the village, 𝗤𝗤𝗪, who was sure the rumor was a lie, decided to put an end to it. He instructed his wife, 𝗦𝗪𝗣𝗪's mother, to place the 6-month-old baby at the entrance of the animal's shed one evening, and then he proceeded to summon the entire community to meet at the scene. After everyone had gathered around, he shouted in a commanding voice, "The rumors of infidelity that have been making way around the community have reached my ears, and I intend to lay them to rest at this very spot today. If he is not my flesh and blood, then he will be trampled to death by the cows and goats, and this shame will be over." When he was done with his short but powerful speech, he ordered a young boy from the crowd to open the door of the animal's shed. Hundreds of cow hooves thundered past the baby as the entire community and the mother watched, all of them electrified in fear. After the last animal had left the shed, they went to check on the boy and he was unharmed. And it was on that day that the entire community rested assured that 𝗦𝗪𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗧 had been chosen to lead them after his father's death. That's it for today. If you like the content, kindly do not forget to smash the like button below. This will help the channel grow and allow me to make more videos in the future. Also, if you have a topic you think I should cover, do not hesitate to leave a comment below. Thank you and see you again next week.